Hello everybody and welcome back to English with Lewis, and as you can see, I'm with my mum.
Hello everybody, I'm back.
And you're really excited to get started, aren't you?
Well, I'm always really nervous of doing these, but do you know what? I'll do them just for him.
Oh, isn't that nice? So in today's video, we're going to have a chat about stereotypically British things. So I've prepared some questions and we're just going to talk about them. Simple.
Yep.
Let's get started.
Okay.
So, as I said, I prepared some questions. So this is the first question. And it is, what comes to mind when you think of British culture? So, Mum, what pops into your mind?
Well, afternoon tea for one. That's sort of going out and having like the finger sandwiches with lovely cakes and things like that. And obviously we have fish and chips. Now, obviously it's more multicultural, so we do enjoy a good curry now. We had one last night, didn't we? It was really nice. Obviously there's a sport aspect.
Yeah, I thought you were just going to speak about food then. I was like, that wasn't the question.
I know, it always goes back to food with me. But no, the sport as well, the football, the cricket, the rugby and tennis, Wimbledon, strawberries and cream. So you see we're going back to food again.
Exactly, you know.
But that is a tradition at Wimbledon that you have the strawberries and cream. And obviously the royal family. Things like that.
I mean, usually I think people do associate the United Kingdom like with the Queen, of course, now the King, and then with sports. It's true that we invented a lot of sports and then we're actually not that good at the majority, but we did invent them.
And the women's football are doing a lot better now.
Female football players are much better than male football players, at least in the United Kingdom.
That sounds a bit controversial.
If you disagree, let me know in the comments. But other things, I mean, there's pub culture, having afternoon tea, as you mentioned. What else? I mean, music as well. There are many famous British bands and
then
singers.
Glastonbury.
Music festivals. If you think of the Beatles and Oasis and all of these artists that have formed part of like pop culture.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, there are so many things that are associated with British culture, and other things like just thinking of London, because it's one of the biggest and most influential cities throughout history, that has kind of shaped people's view of the United Kingdom and Great Britain.
It has. I'm sorry. When Lewis mentioned the music festivals, I remember when you used to go to them and it was like, oh, I can't do with not being able to shower. You just like your home comforts. I mean, you did go to a few, but yeah, it was like, oh, Mum.
I mean, I guess I'm a diva, you know. I need my showers. I can't be sleeping in a tent for too long. It can be fun, but then when you wake up the next morning, it's like, oh, it'd be so nice to have a nice warm shower, sleep in my own bed. Yeah. But yeah. But anyway, we'll get on to some more stereotypically British stuff with the next questions. Okay, question number 2. I'll read it out for you. And it's quite a vague one. It is, how do British people typically spend their weekends? So, first thoughts, what would you say, Mum?
Well, if you've worked all week, it's really nice to get outside, into the fresh air, go up to Yorkshire Dales, which is not too far from us, have a lovely walk, maybe call it the pub, have a beer, just some sort of what we call pub lunch. It just depends really on your circumstances and what family you have. Some people might just enjoy shopping as just a way of relaxing or just getting together with friends and things like that. Now, my Sundays for about 10 years were pitchside watching Lewis play football with his friends. Yeah. And it was just like they didn't always win, but you know, we were there in the sunshine, in the rain, in the snow. We were freezing and it was like, come on! But
I mean, like to say that I think we won more than we lost, but maybe I'm misremembering it. But
rose-tinted glasses, it's called.
I'm seeing everything with rose-tinted glasses, meaning I'm looking at everything with a positive light. But other things, I mean, you mentioned going to the pub. A lot of people will go to the pub at the weekend, and that could be like a sports pub to watch football or other sports, or it could be more of a gastro kind of thing. And if you live in the countryside, it's common to go out for a walk, whether it is raining or the sun is shining or it's really windy, and then you might go for a quick pit stop at the pub. And I remember you used to go quite a lot with Chloe, my sister, to Leeds to go shopping.
Yes, we did, on Meadow Hall in Sheffield.
Which for me is a terrible plan and a terrible idea. But, you know, if other people like it, that's perfect. But, I mean, it depends on the family, right? There are different families who have different interests. There might be some people who really love going to the cinema or the theatre, or others who enjoy going to gigs, like concerts. So each to their own, I guess.
Yeah, we've got something coming up, me and Dad. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah.
A romantic getaway.
After 40 years? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%. And this one I think depends so much. So let us know, in your case, what do you typically get up to at the weekend? What do you typically do at the weekend?
Oh, just imagine if you live near the sea. Oh, that would be heaven for me. Be on the beach, in the sea.
That's the dream, right? To live by the beach.
Yeah.
Go for a little wander, a little walk.
Yeah.
Have a nice drink, head back, have a nap. Ooh. Sounds good.
It does. Yeah. But everybody likes different things. But yeah, the sea's lovely for me. I find it very relaxing.
Perfect. So this is a perfect segue, a perfect little link, because Mum was just mentioning that she would love to be by the coast and by the beach. And our next question is, what are some must-visit places in the UK? So I'll kick off by saying that, of course, if you've never been to United Kingdom, you need to come to the capital, to London, because it's a huge city with so much going on in different neighbourhoods. And there's a little bit of everything for everyone. But I think most people who are watching this will either know a lot about London or might have visited London before. So the United Kingdom is not just London. Mum, what other places should people visit?
Well, obviously, like you touched on, the London and Buckingham Palace, things like that. But I'm not as much of a city person, so I would prefer to go up to the Lake District. There's some, as in the name, there's some beautiful lakes like Windermere, Coniston, things like that. There's a lot of walking there. I do like what we call the seaside, which is on the coast, and I like the northeast, which is sort of fine, beautiful beaches. It's very traditional. You know, there are ice creams. There's a paddling pool. It's just nice, and it's where we went as a family, so it's sentimental to me. But obviously, if you want to sort of go further down, sort of, is it the northwest, southwest, sort of Cornwall?
Cornwall is known for being really, really beautiful, and I've been there once, and it's true that it does feel a little bit different in terms of weather compared to the north. It feels a little bit more like France.
I think somewhere down there it's actually called the English Riviera.
There you go. Who knew?
Fact. So, hope it's correct.
I think it is.
I have definitely heard that somewhere.
No, but like Cornwall is known for being absolutely beautiful, and it's a place where you've got amazing beaches, lots of little seaside towns, lots of surfing as well. But other places, like I went to university in Liverpool, and Liverpool's a really cool city to go to.
It's lovely.
It's great for a night out, to go to see the sights as well. And then next to Liverpool, you've got Manchester, which is a relatively big city, but it's a little bit ugly, in my opinion. In my opinion, of course, we're all entitled to our opinions.
More built up, perhaps.
It's very industrial, and Leeds is similar. But Leeds is a little bit prettier, I think. Yeah. Slightly smaller, but a little bit prettier. So
I mean, Liverpool's very iconic when I used to go and visit you, and obviously the Liver Building, Albert Dock, which has been like sort of really revitalised. and obviously, is it the Cavern Club? Is that the Beatles? So that was quite touristy, but it was nice. And there'd been a lot of regeneration there as well. So, yeah.
And of course, we live in England. We are English. So we are also British at the same time. But a great city in Scotland, in my opinion, is Edinburgh.
Oh, yes.
Edinburgh is absolutely beautiful.
Architecturally, it's beautiful.
The architecture is so beautiful, and at the same time, when you're there, there's just good vibes. I feel like everybody's very friendly, and everything's quite close together as well. So it's a very walkable city. It has lots of history, has a beach as well. It's usually going to be too cold, but there is a beach. And you've got Edinburgh Castle. So I'd recommend
Edinburgh Fringe.
the Fringe Festival, which is a comedy festival. So a great weekend away.
I've got to mention Wales though, because Wales is beautiful, and we've been on quite a few trips to Wales because Bruce's husband cycles, so we've driven down there, and I've managed to get a nice hotel, a bit of a spa going on. Then we go and watch the racing. Dad loves to get out on his bike and have a race, so yeah, it's really good for that. Honestly, it's so nice as Wales, and they're friendly too. Everywhere's nice to visit.
I'd say, generally speaking, that Scotland and Wales are a little bit more rural than England, because the population is much smaller. So then there are fewer cities and less industry as well, which makes it more beautiful and more relaxing, I think. But of course, there are areas in England as well, like the Lake District that you mentioned, which is really beautiful.
And the Yorkshire Dales.
The Yorkshire Dales.
Going back to that is really lovely.
I mean, we are from Yorkshire, so we have to kind of promote what is closer to us. But no, let us know if you can think of any other places in the UK that you've visited that you'd like to recommend everybody, because I'm curious to see.
Yeah, we could go too.
Exactly, let's go. Now, on to our favourite topic, which we touched on earlier, and it's all about food. So this question is, what do you think about British food? Is it overrated or underrated? Mum, what would you say first of all?
I actually think British food has come a long way. I mean, when the people used to talk about, boiled cabbage or sprouts that have been on for ages, but we've got some really, really good restaurants. Your dad and I, we went somewhere, it was near Knaresborough, and it was like a tasting menu, 10 courses, which sounds really overfacing, but it's not. But we started off, it was literally like a cloche that they came, and the waiter sort of went, and all this, all this sort of smoke came out, was infused. It was beautiful, and it just little bits. And so I think there's a lot more of that, a lot more sort of going for the gastro. There's even a programme called the Great British Menu, where people, and it's professional chefs, they sort of compete from different areas, and then they do banquets, and it's really good. Yeah. It's not just fish and chips. I mean, I do quite a good roast dinner, I have to say, but
not to blow your own trumpet.
I don't think that sounds really bad.
By the way,
probably the only thing I'm good at.
Just to mention that expression, if you blow your own trumpet, it's like you brag or boast, or you show off. But no, it's true. No. My mum makes a fantastic roast dinner, and a roast dinner is traditionally served on Sundays, and it's also practically the same as our Christmas dinner. And it involves roast meat. So usually you'd have chicken, turkey, beef, gammon, a little bit of anything, and then lots of different dishes. So roast potatoes, mashed potatoes, peas, sprouts, carrots, cauliflower cheese. The list goes on and on. So it does with me. It's a lot of work.
It is, but I'm just a family person, so I just like, even though it's a lot of effort, and I sometimes question at the clearing up stage if it's worth it, but it's just to have everybody round the table. That is part of my thing, which is the British culture. I just like meal times. When you were growing up, I used to always insist that we sat at the table and we ate together. And there was a saying, and they used to sort of say something like, "Oh, Mum," but it was like, the family that eats together stays together, which is not true, because it really isn't like that at all. But you just can chat better, but obviously now everybody's so busy. I mean, it was difficult as you got older and you did like different clubs and things. But yeah, British food's good. I mean, you like beans on toast. I don't. But each to their own, you know.
I mean, there are lots of different things which are typically English. I made a podcast about it a few weeks ago, and I listed things like beans on toast, shepherd's pie, roast dinner, fish and chips, an English breakfast, beans on toast, and a lot of these things don't have that many spices. So maybe comparing them to Mexican food or Indian food, there is quite a big difference that I understand why other people from other countries might say that British food was at least a little bit bland, like a little bit lacking in spices, but it's what we grew up with and I really like it. And you said it's come a long way.
Yeah, and I embrace the spices now. I mean, there was chili flakes on everything. You know, avocado on toast, chili flakes.
The spicier the better, even if it means I've got like a sweaty brow and all of this stuff. But nowadays there are so many different types of food, and I think that from immigration from all over the world, the British chefs and cooks will have taken inspiration from that to put their own twist on typically English food. So
It's
I think
really enhanced it.
nowadays, you go to the vast majority of restaurants in the United Kingdom and you're going to eat well. Like, there are, of course, cheap places where you probably shouldn't eat, like Weatherspoons, for example.
Can I say that?
I can say that, and I just said it, which is a great pub chain in the United Kingdom where
Very good value for money.
great value for money
Yeah.
and cheap drinks, but the food is not going to be good because it's such an industrialized process. So there are places to avoid for sure, but I think nowadays if you do a little bit of research, looking at the reviews of any restaurant before you book a table, then you're going to have a good time. You're not going to be let down or disappointed.
And just going back to that, honestly, you've had breakfast there and you quite like it, especially after a night out. So honestly, it's
Don't worry, the Weatherspoons owners are not going to be watching this. I'm not going to get reported, Mum. It's fine. If you have ever been to Weatherspoons in the United Kingdom, let me know. How was the experience?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. It just depends what you want, and it's really good value for money. Quite a few of my friends are like, yeah, let's go to Spoons, it's called. So it's got an affectionate title even.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I would say overall, to sum up the question, is it overrated or underrated? I think it's kind of in the middle, but if anything, I'd say nowadays it's underrated because a lot of people that I've spoken to around the world will jokingly say like, oh, English food, I like the United Kingdom, but I don't go there to eat well. So, give it another chance.
We can take that, it's fine.
Exactly, we'll take it on the chin. Okay, next up, we have, do you think British people are as polite as they are often portrayed? What do you think?
I mean, I think I am quite polite, and
I agree.
I mean, yeah. Well, I don't like to offend anybody ever. I worked in a school, so I'm very open to teaching about manners because manners cost nothing, which is like, you basically yes please, no thank you, excuse me, and I just think that's a really good thing to instill in children. Yeah, I did my best.
And it's funny
You
because
are polite, actually.
when we were preparing this video, we were kind of brainstorming and thinking of ideas.
Because I get so nervous.
And you were just mentioning that when you're walking and you like walk into a table or something, you say sorry to the table?
Well, no, it was just that I do say sorry. I mean, sometimes people say sorry as in pardon, which means I'm sorry I didn't quite hear you. I tend to sort of say sorry if I do bump into something. Oh, sorry. And I think I once did bump into a table and I just automatically said, oh, sorry. And then I thought, why am I apologising to a piece of furniture? But that's just me.
That's an extreme case, but it's true that I think the stereotype is that British people, and even more so Canadians, are known for saying sorry, sorry, sorry. Even if you don't mean sorry, you might say it anyway. I'm sure you did,
yeah,
but it's so ingrained, I guess, in our
Yes.
way of being that even if, let's say, I don't know, somebody else does something bad to you and you might say sorry, just out of like reflex, not really realizing. So it's true that I'll say sorry a lot of the time, and I'm not actually sorry for what I did or anything like that. It just comes out that way.
It's polite, and also it can diffuse a situation. So I always think it's better to apologise and to say sorry for something. You know, I mean, why would you not? I don't know. It's just that's just me.
A couple of nice phrases, because you were mentioning sorry, like excuse me, when you didn't hear what somebody said. And you could even go a step further to sound more formal and polite by saying, I beg your pardon. And we can go in the opposite direction. And what a lot of people will naturally say, which does come across as a little bit rude, is, you are.
Which I hate. So sorry. Growing up,
If they
ever
say,
say, what? I'm like, excuse me? Pardon?
And there's another thing that I'm kind of thinking about growing up, that whenever we were sat at the table having dinner or anything, if I put like my elbows on the table at the same time, everyone's like, oi, elbows off, elbows off the table.
That wasn't me, that was your dad, Mark, wasn't it? But yeah, and just like, thank you for a nice tea, or please may I leave the table, rather than just sort of just getting up straight after you've eaten. But I mean, that's a bit old school, I know, but it's just nice.
I'd say that usually British people are quite polite. There are exceptions, as with everything, like when you have a group of lads going on holiday and they're there to get drunk and have a good time, then people will probably forget their manners. And the same thing might happen if you've got a group of people who are on a stag do or a hen do, anything like this. People will forget to say sorry and excuse me and I beg your pardon, but usually we are quite polite, I'd say.
I would say too, yeah, I agree.
And long may it continue. Alright, so we were speaking about being polite and good manners, and this ties in perfectly. And it is, do all Brits really love queuing, or is it just an exaggeration? I would say yes, we love queuing. What do you reckon?
I would say we like to queue because we like the order. I'm not sure, but we love queuing. If it's a long queue, you're like, oh no, but you join it anyway. And if you're in a queue, you can see the progress, so it's fine. Now, should somebody jump the queue or sort of push in, then I think we come back sometimes to the British politeness that you're thinking, what are they doing? But you don't actually say, excuse me, there's a queue. Or I don't anyway. You might, but I don't. So, I don't mind a queue. I'll admit it.
I think a lot of countries queue as well. Maybe there are other countries that don't, but like, you need to know what order there is.
You do.
So if you're waiting and you're about to pay for something, or there is, I don't know, any kind of line or queue, you usually ask like, oh, are you in the queue? Or
yes, you do.
Where's the end of the queue? Because you want to be polite and you want everything to run smoothly, because if there is no queue, then it's chaos. Like, how are you supposed to know when it is your turn? And it's true that if somebody does try to jump the queue, I maybe won't tell them directly, but I'll probably look at the other people who are queuing.
For them to say something.
And I'll be like, all right, is there a mutual understanding? Are we going to stick up for ourselves and prevent this happening? And then I might kind of stare at the person that jumped the queue and see if they look back at me. And then if they look back at me and like smile or anything, that might set me off, where I'll be like... So first I might not say anything, and I'll just like grumble whilst making some gestures, like... But I probably won't be confrontational enough to actually say, excuse me, this is a queue, you just jumped the line, so go to the back. So
please.
It does get on my nerves if people don't respect the queue.
But generally people do. Most people will say, oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was the queue or whatever. The worst bit is if you get in a queue and people are queuing from one side and then they don't know and then start coming from the other and then it's like that, oh, who goes next, I think. But I mean, yeah, we love a queue. Yeah.
And just on that note as well, I am a little bit impatient when it comes to like walking or waiting for things. So I try to keep calm and keep cool. But, you know, if I'm walking and I see a group of people walking in front of me and I can't overtake them, then this does really grind my gears. But, you know, I guess I have to work on my patience because I like to be effective and go from one place to another and not waste time. But that doesn't mean that I would ever skip the queue.
No, you wouldn't. It's a no. I'm quite bad actually getting served at a bar because I don't like to sort of push in there. And you know, there's like the bartender might be looking at different people, and I'm sort of a bit, excuse me, yeah, please could I have?
That's it's funny because in Spain or many other places, if you go to a bar, the culture of ordering is a bit different. So you'll have to kind of push yourself to the front. And then it always takes me forever to grab someone's attention and be like, because I don't really want to be the guy to be like screaming and shouting. It's like, hey, it's our turn. So I guess that goes back to British politeness again.
Brought up well.
Okay, let's keep going. And this one is something that everybody likes to speak about all the time, I think. And it is related to the weather. So, are British people really obsessed with the weather? Mum?
Well, I sometimes think it's just small talk, really, because if you're not sure what to say, you don't know something very well, you must, it's turned out nice, you know, it's a nice day, or, it's lovely, you know, are you doing anything later? I mean, the thing is, with the British weather, it's so unpredictable. So, sometimes you have to be obsessed in so much as if you're planning something, you like to try and get a bit of a forecast because, you know, if you live somewhere where it was always the sunshine, you can think, right, barbecue tomorrow. Now it's like, oh, let's just see what the weather's like. I mean, when your sister got married, I can remember thinking, will it be raining? I bought lovely white umbrellas. Will it be sunny? You know, it's that unpredictability of the British weather. So I would say we're not obsessed, but we just keep an eye on it, really, just to make plans.
Great. I mean, it's always good small talk at the beginning of most of my classes. I'll be like, oh, what's the weather like where you are? Because it's a nice way of breaking the ice. And it's true that you never know what the weather's going to be like here. Like, we're recording this in front of some big windows, and sometimes you might notice that the lighting is changing because 1 second it's raining, then it's really, really sunny, then it's cloudy. It's like, you never know what's going to happen with the weather. So you have to prepare for like 4 seasons in a day.
So we literally it was hailing, you know, with proper hailstones earlier, and then the sun was out, there's the blue sky over there, there's the grey sky over there, you can see the trees blowing, but hey, we like a bit of variety.
Right, I've been back home for almost a week now, and it's been really good weather, relatively speaking, because it's been, 15 degrees, sunny.
It's been lovely.
But I'll look outside and see that it's sunny and think, perfect, I don't need to wear a jacket. And then I'll get to the top of the road and I'll be like,
it's freezing.
There's hail, it's freezing, it's windy. So this is why we are possibly obsessed with the weather, is because you have to be prepared. There's no such thing as bad weather, but just bad clothes. Okay, last question, and this is a biggie, one that people will ask me a lot of questions about, so I'll let you take the lead, Mum, but the question is, what do you think about the British monarchy? Should it stay or should it go?
It should definitely stay. I love having a British monarchy. I like to watch the occasions, all the pomp and the ceremony. Yeah, I'm a big fan, absolutely. I mean, the Queen was marvellous. I mean, was she the longest ruling monarch? I'm pretty sure she was. Obviously, there's King Charles, Prince William, and Princess Kate, and obviously their children. I really believe in it. I think they do a lot of good. They do a lot of charity work. They scrutinise all the time everything they do, which you were sort of saying, you know, the born is this privilege, but I'm saying, but they have to have such duty. They can't just sort of think, oh, I'm not going to bother today, you know, I'll not bother opening that event or whatever. You know, that I think, yeah.
You're really pro-monarchy, aren't you? It's interesting. Like, have you always been so strongly in favour of the monarchy?
I think so. I mean, each to their own. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I just think they do a good job. You know, it might change. I'm not saying it'll stay forever, but yeah, I just think, you know, I mean, the Queen, she did a lot of good. Yeah.
It's interesting because I do think that on average, people in the United Kingdom are in favour of the monarchy. Usually with younger generations, they care less and less.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd say nobody is like completely against the monarchy. I'd say it's never like a really strong feeling here, which it can be in other countries. And personally, I'd say I'm more against the monarchy than in favour of the monarchy. But again, I'm not going to argue with anyone about it. I think that...
I mean, you don't want it abolished as such. Maybe it's sort of weaken as the generations go on, but...
I personally don't agree with the principle and the idea, the fact that just because of your family and who you were born into, you have this immense power, but also responsibility. So I'm not saying that they have like a really easy life or anything like that. I think they have their own challenges and scrutiny that you mentioned. They're always in the public eye. And yes, they have lots and lots and lots of money and servants and people who do their jobs for them, but they also have to do their own job at the same time. So I don't agree with the principle, but if I had to choose who I prefer to be governing the country between the monarchy and a lot of politicians, then I'd probably say that the monarchy is better prepared for it. Of course, they don't get involved in the politics. They're just the head of state. But
I think like Prince William, you know, he's much for, you know, is it Green Earth or something? You know, he's and obviously King Charles before him, he was, in a way, he was almost mocked when he was younger because he would talk about organic things and when people, he was almost before his time. It was quite a visionary, really. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with everything, but Prince William, yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah.
I mean, you are, of course, mentioning the people of the monarchy who have been good and not mentioning the other ones who have very, very questionable pasts and decisions.
That is in all families. Yeah. No, that is in all families. You know, there could always be like a little somebody who doesn't toe the line quite as much. But no, I think they've been great, and I'm fully in support. I think the way Princess Kate has handled like the whole, you know, her cancer. She's gone out there. I think she's quite inspirational.
And I think a good message to take from this is that within the same family, we clearly don't have the same opinion. We don't exactly see eye to eye on this topic. We're not on the same page. But I think the important thing nowadays with such a polarized world is to have these conversations and speak about what you think and not be offended by the other person's opinions.
No, I'm not offended at all. And it, like you say, it's good to chat and you should get other people's views in anything, just in life, and besides, why would everybody want to think the same? How boring would that be?
Okay. And one more thing related to the monarchy, at least the British monarchy, is that I think there have been studies made about the net positive of how much money they bring in because of tourism.
Absolutely.
And how much the British taxpayer and Canadian, Australian, New Zealand have to pay as well. And I think it works out positively for Great Britain and the United Kingdom because of all the money it brings in. Yeah. So if we look at the facts, then, you know, that shows that it should continue, it should stay. And Related to that, completely off topic, but as we're recording this and the last point was about the weather, it just started raining. Typical. And on that note, that is it. That is all for today. We've been having a chat about all things British. And Mum, you were a bit nervous. Are you feeling better now?
I'm always nervous. Honestly, I just waffle on. But so please feel free to pause at any time or fast forward when I'm on. I'm British. I won't be offended. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's
It's always a relief
nerve-wracking.
when you finish and get it done. And you used a nice phrasal verb. So to waffle on, waffle on is like to speak about things without really getting to the point. But that's what this is for, you know. So thank you, Mum.
It's just conversational English. Yeah, we're not changing the world. We're just having a chat.
Great. So thank you everybody for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.